Hello again. Welcome back to Kill the Virus. In this episode, you're going to learn how to actually play Kill the Virus, and you should be able to solve some puzzles after you're done with this video. So let's get started. There are four zip files containing the puzzles here. Basically, you have to unzip them to get to the puzzles, and I've been told everybody knows how to unzip files. Well, maybe everybody. Once you've had the files unzipped, you can then select a puzzle from in them. Now let me tell you that the screen capture I'm using here doesn't get the full multi-go screen. Above the toolbar are some words that you'll be using. The only one we actually use as much as a file. You'll also learn eventually how to use edit, etc. But on the file one, if you click on that, it'll ask you what you want to do, and when you click on that, the thing you're going to want to do is open, and then you can go to one of those files, click on open. It'll come up with a menu, and you'll be able to pick from that menu which unzip file you want to pick a file from. And so basically that's how you would get a file. You'd click on that file, and that's how you would get it on your screen to play. I went to the COVID-19 puzzles and selected this one. I believe you pronounce it hydrochloric, easy for me to say, hydrochloroquine. It's fun for me when I can put that many letters on a single puzzle, although some of them have to be shrunk and that type of thing. As you'll see, the H is in the upper left hand corner at A9, A19, and the Y is on E18, the D is J19, the R is N19, the O upper left hand corner, the X begins at B15, and so on. So I'm not going to solve this puzzle for you, but it's kind of interesting when the potential solution for the problem becomes a puzzle. As you can see, the virus has invaded this solution at L19, M19, M18, M17, and M16. So when you get to these puzzles, or when you select this puzzle, you'll be able to try and solve it. And the solution is also given, but you shouldn't go to the solution unless you get really stuck, and we'll talk some more about that soon. Since there are over 250 good country puzzles, I thought we'd solve one of those, or work through one of those to show you how the thing would work. Again, I went there and I clicked on this one. I believe it's pronounced Niue. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It's a small island country in the Pacific, and I believe it was called the Rock long before Alcatraz was created. So let me show you how it works. To begin the solution, you go to the toolbar and to the two stone icon, the third from the left and the bottom, where it shows a black and white stone, and you click on it. When you click on it, now you'll be able to play a stone on the board by placing your cursor on that point. Let's begin by clicking. The virus here at N6, 7, and 8 has two breathing spaces. They all start with two breathing spaces. This one has a breathing space at N5 and one at N9. So let's just take one of those let's take the one at N5. If you ever play the first stone and it's white, you can always go up to that same toolbar on the far left, and there's a backward arrow, and you can take that move off. Let me show you. Say you play the first stone and it's oh no, it's a white stone and it's supposed to be a black stone. Well, go to that arrow, click on it, that'll take away that move, and then you click on the third icon in the two stones, and it'll change the first stone to black. So just to show you that it's pretty easy to solve that problem. So basically we have to take away one of the virus's breathing spaces, so we take away the N5 one, and it runs. Oh, you also have to play the virus's moves, which are usually forced. If it's not forced, you may have a problem. So in this case, you would move your cursor to N9 and click, and the virus would appear there. Only there's a problem here. When you virus went to N9, it connected to those two other stones because they're touching along either a vertical or horizontal line, and now the virus went from having two breathing spaces to having three. This virus has a breathing space at L9, one at M10, and one at N11. Ouch! That's making it more difficult, if not impossible, to capture. And it looks like it could connect to other stones, thereby increasing its breathing spaces. So something is wrong. I think it's our first move. So what do? We go back up to that reverse arrow, go back to the start. The puzzles are user friendly, so if you reach a point where there's an impasse or you can't solve it, you can always back up and try a different path. So now we know that the virus does not begin, the virus kill or the virus capture does not begin with N5, so you must be the other one. So we take our cursor, put it on N9, click, and there will be a black stone there. And again, you'll be playing the wait moves too, because that's how the game is played. So you put your cursor on N5 and click. Virus has two breathing spaces, one at N4, one at O5, and if you play the N4 one, the virus will touch the three stones there, gain many breathing spaces, almost touch the big group, and it get to the point where it was just like above. So obviously you can't go there, so you have to take away its other one. You place your cursor at O5, and the virus, you place your cursor at N. In order to play the virus's move, you place the cursor where only the virus has only one option, and you put your cursor on N4 and click, and again the virus has two breathing spaces, N3 and O4. Again, you don't want it to connect to those stones, so you put your cursor on O4 and put your cursor on N3 for the virus to run away. Again, you don't want it to go to the right because it'll connect to other stones, so you put your cursor on O3 and the virus runs to you put your cursor on M3 and the virus runs that way. In a few moves I'll stop saying put your cursor on, and you'll understand that you just put the cursor on the point and click. Well, in this case, if you put your cursor on L3, the virus will put its cursor on M2, connect to a large group, and be uncatchable, and you'll have to back up again. So in this case, put your cursor on M3, the virus, put your cursor on L3, the virus has two breathing spaces as it always will have, and you have to play one of those again. I'll say put your cursor on one more time. Put your cursor on L3, put your cursor on, because it's the virus turn now, you put your cursor on K3, you put your cursor on L2, it's the virus's turn, you put your cursor on K3 and the virus runs there. No more put the cursor on. This time you make a move by playing K2. The virus has only one option, it runs away. It has two breathing spaces. You don't want it to connect to the group down below because it will be alive, so you take away that breathing space. The virus runs away. You'll hear that quite frequently. In this case, if you play at J5, the virus will go to H4, and the stone at H3 will become threatened, and the virus is threatening to connect to that big group, so you have to prevent that by playing a move at H3. As always, you don't want the virus to connect to other stones and gain breathing spaces, and if it connects at J6, it'll connect to those two stones, have enough breathing spaces, and you'll have a problem with the virus. So what you have to do in this case is prevent that. Now the virus is running away. This time you put your cursor at H5 and click, and now you see the virus has two breathing spaces. Each time the virus will have two, so you have to keep taking it away with your moves. Oh, it's got two again. You can see it's visual. You can see you don't want it to connect, so you prevent that and it runs again. In this case, it may be a little bit harder to see that you don't want it to connect at E9 because connects to other stones, gets multiple or gets many more breathing spaces, so you prevent that. Here, getting a little tricky, but not much. If you play C7, the virus will run to C8. That's correct. If you played, excuse me, the virus would run to D8. If you played D8, let's just do it for a second and see what happens. The virus will go to C7, and now those three black stones have only one breathing space left. If you and you can't take away both the white's breathing spaces in a single move, so the virus will capture those three stones, connect to the big group, and it's turn out the lights. So basically, you have to go the other way. You have to play at C7, and the virus runs away. Your two stones are being threatened. They have to run away, create a breathing space for themselves. They now have two, and the virus has one, but it's the virus' turn, so it runs away. If you play B8, the virus will turn and go towards the top of the board. You notice that the virus can twist and turn all over the board. So those three stones would be threatened. So you got to protect your stones and threaten the virus at the same time, which this move does. The virus then runs down here. Again, if you play B9, the virus will go to B7, and those four black stones will be captured before you can capture the virus, so you prevent that. The virus has two breathing spaces. You got to keep it down to two breathing spaces. If you go A9, it'll go B10 and have more than two breathing spaces, so you prevent that. Two breathing spaces, but you don't want it to connect to the those four white stones, too many breathing spaces, so you prevent that. In this case, you can run ahead a little bit, and virus has two breathing spaces at B12 and 13, so you can actually go ahead to B13 and play that one. Now the virus is down to one breathing space. If the virus played B12, you would capture it at C12. But the virus doesn't have to do that. The virus can capture the stone at A14 by taking away its last breathing space at B14. That hurt, but it was a sacrifice. You can now play the viruses. You can't play back in there because you don't have any breathing spaces, so you have to take the other breathing space, this time at B12, and the virus connects, again having two breathing spaces. Again here, when you have to play a move that keeps the virus to two breathing spaces, and that would be this one. Virus has two breathing spaces. If you turn it towards the edge of the board, it'll capture those two stones before you can capture it. So you have to play B17. The white goes to C17. Again, you can't turn it left or it'll capture those three stones before you capture it. So you have to turn it the other way by playing B18. White turns. Now I'm going to play the rest of the moves without giving you all the coordinates to show you what the right moves are, but you can see why they are right. Just last one. If you play E15, the virus will go if you play F19, the virus will go to E18 and connect to those two stones, and it'll have too many breathing spaces. So instead, you take the E19, virus runs away. I'll just show you the moves from here for a minute. When the virus touches other stones, they become infected. They become part of the virus. So when the virus connects at J19, those 6 stones are now added to the virus, and it's virus turn again. And there are 2 breathing spaces. If you take the wrong one, the virus can possibly escape, and that's basically you have to read these out, and that's where the fun is. You have to figure out what's the best move each time. So I'm going to show you the best move this time just to help you. But in the actual puzzles, it'll be you versus the virus. You will be playing the virus's move, but the virus's moves are pretty well standard. I mean, you have to take its own breathing space and create more breathing spaces. If the virus gets to 3 breathing spaces, you've got a problem. Anytime you want, you can stop it and see the virus has two breathing spaces, one at M14 and one at N15. So you have to take one. You take the wrong one, it'll connect to those four stones. So let's take the right one. Oh, there's a big group over there. We don't want it to connect to that, so we prevent that. The virus is still running. This part here may be a little bit hard to read, but if you take the O14 point, the virus will go to the N13 point, and then either direction it goes, it'll create more breathing spaces than you have, and or it'll have more than two mandatory, and therefore it'll get away. So you have to keep it down to two breathing spaces at all times. Two breathing spaces, two obvious breathing spaces. You don't want it to connect to the big group, so you prevent that. The virus plays on the only move it will get to, it has to play it to get to have two breathing spaces. So the virus will play at looks like O12. You don't want it to connect, do we? We've learned that one. So black will prevent that. The virus has to run to place to have more breathing spaces. You take one of its two breathing spaces. The virus has two. It has to play on the other one. The virus has two. You could play at L9, but the virus could just take you because you have only one breathing space. So we'll take the L11. Virus takes the other one. Now it has two breathing spaces. You don't want it to connect to those two stones. It almost connected to them before, so they're taboo. So you take the breathing space at J9. The virus goes to L8. And lo and behold, the virus looks like it has only one breathing space, and it's our turn. So on our turn, we can play that last breathing space that we've been trying to take away this whole time. Capture the virus. I never get tired of killing the virus, trust me. Now let me show you some other features that are available. First of all, if you look at the game record, that's those numbers that are appearing in the box there. Next to the L15 on it, there is an arrow. If you click on that arrow, that will take you back through a move. It doesn't eliminate that move. I mean, it eliminates that move, but so you can use this arrow to back up too. The nice thing about backing up with this arrow, say you get to a point where you've reached a problem that you can't solve, or it's got too many liberties, you can back up and try a different path. But the nice thing about this one is you can hold it down and it'll take them away rapidly. Let's hold it down again. That's pretty quick. Or you can click on it a single time. What I like to do after I solve a problem, and when I'm creating a problem, I go to the other arrow down at the bottom, right above the where it says dead black stone 0, dead white stone 0, and that one moves it forward. So you click on that one time and it moves it. You click on it again and it keeps moving it. But the nice thing about this is you can also hold that one down and watch as the virus runs all over the board after you've reached a correct solution, and there it got eliminated. So that's what a kill would look like in terms of the virus. Now, as I mentioned before, if you get absolutely stuck, or if you just don't have enough time to solve it or something, you can go to the kill the virus has the answers, because each puzzle is solvable. So let me show you how that works. This time I went to the Good Country Solutions, and it's the same puzzle, but you see it has the answer on the right where it says game info, add white and black stones or moves. So if you click on that, it'll show you. Say you get stuck on the first move. I can't figure out, it's got two breathing spaces, which one should I play? It'll tell you. That one. Okay, well, I can't figure out I have to play a move for white, right? Well, how do I do that? Oh, okay. And again, anytime you're stuck, but you shouldn't go here, you should solve the puzzles yourself. That was the whole idea, I guess. Anyways, you can use this to click one move at a time, and this has the nice feature that you can also go multi-moves. And speed it up again. The nice thing about the solutions is after you've actually solved a puzzle, you can check your solution here, and when you get here, when you use this feature, when you get to the end, it'll show you the original puzzle is there, and it'll show you, oh, you've reached the solution. Another feature of this is, I've showed you backwards and forwards. If you click below the arrow at the upper arrow at L15, where next to L15, you can move it up in chunks. So that's how that works. So now you've learned how to do a puzzle. I've done one for you. You're getting real close to be able to do them on your own. In the future, we'll be adding puzzles that invade people's names, as this one is done here. If you're in Japan, that's Abe. If you're in the United States, that's Abe. And as you can see, the virus has invaded at D9, 10, 11, and 12, and E9, 10, 11, and 12. And again, these name puzzles will have their solutions in a separate file. For example, here's one I made for Alex Trebek. I heard he had some extra time on his hands, so I made this puzzle, sent it to him. Forgot to send him the solution. Oh no, I actually did send him the solution. I think he's still trying to solve it. He sent me back a very nice thank you note. So we will have people puzzles. For that matter, we will have stick people puzzles. Here, two boxers square off in round 1. You should see what happens in round 2 and 3. The virus will invade multiple numbers, including numbers that make up years, as it does in this puzzle, 1996. Even the animal world is not safe from the virus. As you can see, this bunny has the infection. I hope to eventually have sponsors, or a couple sponsors, maybe more, but the idea is I'd put their name as a puzzle, and then you could solve it, and I guess they would call that advertising subliminally. Close. Let me show you how it would work. Some of the puzzles are a little hard to read, but this one says your name here, and you can see it's been invaded by the virus at E14, 15, 16, and 17. So that's where the sponsor's name would be. And I can also do logos or something else. Sometimes I can copy them, sometimes I can't. So let me show you an example. Say, for example, that the New York Times wanted to become a sponsor. I could certainly make them a puzzle. This is just one example. Then you can see the virus has invaded this puzzle at... Boy, it's hard to find. Oh, that's because it's so big and it'll bite me. It's all over the side over there. So that's how the virus would invade the New York Times. And then they could use this as a advertising platform. Hey, they could put one of my puzzles in their paper too. That might make some good advertising. All the puzzles here are free, and I hope to keep making free puzzles. I also like to make puzzles for people that are sick or in the hospital or something, but I don't have a lot of free time, as you can imagine. But I will have a video added here soon, I hope, that will show other people how to make puzzles, either for their family or for their friends or for others, and they can always be added to the site and stuff. So once they do that, I think we'll have puzzles enough for everybody. But again, it's fun to make the puzzles. It's as much fun to make the puzzle. It's more fun to make the puzzles, because then you can think about somebody solving and go, oh, they'll never get this. So again, in the future, everyone will be able to make their own puzzles. I have included a say it in a puzzle. Redundancy, but that will be where people will be able to add comments, make suggestions, and we may even use that for the submission of puzzles. So it's there. I just like to say it in a puzzle, because I like to repeat myself. Now, like all good movies, this one has to come to an end too. So what I'm going to do is thank those people who made this possible. The most important person in my life is my wife Barbara, and I can't say enough about her, so I thank her. I want to thank the founder of Multigo, the creator of Multigo, and I hope I got his name right here. We can do characters, of course, and there'll be many puzzles created that have other languages, different spelling of words, and etc. So, thank you, Multigo. Finally, I have to thank my friend and mentor Cornell, who has earned the title Puzzle Checker Extraordinaire. This is not my website. This is our website. After all, we are all in this together. I love words, and together is a very good word. Thank you.